For a long time, this really puzzled me. We grow up believing that success belongs to the smart, the educated. We live in a world that values talent and intellect. In that sense, we are lucky. This is the right time to be alive. Information is just a click away, and in no time you can learn anything, from the history of Rome to quantum physics. But imagine, just for a moment, you're an alien visiting Earth for the very first time. You look around and you realize things don't work that way at all. More often than not, it's not the smartest or most educated who rise to the top, but those who think more simply, speak louder, and project absolute confidence. And you can't help but wonder why. Why are they the ones shaping decisions, gathering supporters, and moving forward faster? You've probably seen this happen in everyday life. At work, hanging out with friends, scrolling through social media, there's always that one person who, without a second thought, say, "Here's how it is," or "No, this is the truth." And people listen. They're not alone. I've had it happen to me too. I'd know a topic inside out because I'd spent hours digging into it. I'd think carefully before speaking, talk slowly, not too loudly. And then someone else will jump in first and share their opinion. Even if they were wrong, as long as they spoke clearly and with confidence, they got the attention, and I didn't. The thing is, in the moment, people react less to what's being said and more to how it's said. Who speaks first, who speaks louder, who sounds certain. It's what I call the attention capture effect. When someone comes out fast and forceful, it's like planting a flag. I'm claiming this space. And once they do, the spotlight and the energy shift to their side. Breaking through, no matter how strong your arguments, becomes a whole lot harder. In my case, it was even harder because I spoke slowly and softly. These days, sometimes I make a real effort to speak louder and faster, and it does help. The thing is, people often take silence or pauses as a sign of uncertainty. The paradox is that when you speak that way, your biggest strength, your depth, your expertise can end up looking unconvincing. Here's another example. I've spent almost my entire life studying self-development, psychology, and philosophy. It's probably what fascinates me more than anything else. Years ago, I used to listen to all these well-known experts, the kind who could draw huge crowds. I listened to different gurus, tried applying their advice in my own life. And here's what I noticed. Over time, I realized that a lot of their advice didn't actually work in practice. But that didn't stop people from coming back to them again and again. I used to ask myself, why does this happen? Is it just because they speak with confidence? The truth is, no. There's something else. Charm, charisma. That magnetic pull so strong, it makes people believe anything they say. A lot of charismatic but shallow people have an incredible ability to read the room and hit its pain points. They know exactly how to say what people want to hear. You're special. You're doing everything right. It's just the circumstances holding you back. There is a simple way to change everything. They can calm your anxiety or just as easily crank it up by painting a terrifying picture of the future, then offering the one true solution. In moments like that, facts don't matter. Evidence doesn't matter. What matters is the wave of relief you feel and your brain remembers that feeling. That's why people kept going back to a charismatic, shallow leader over and over again, not for the truth, but for the emotion they give. You've probably asked yourself, why do so many people avoid logic, skip analysis, and shy away from really thinking things through? After all, we're supposed to be thinking beings. Psychologists have an explanation. Our brains are wired for efficiency. Thinking is hard. It burns energy. We evolved in a world where quick decisions could save your life, and thinking too long could cost it. Imagine this. You're a prehistoric human. Spear in hand, lying in wait, hidden deep in the bushes. You've been sitting there for who knows how long, eyes fixed, barely breathing. And then suddenly, the bushes right in front of you start rustling. A split seconds later, a tiger explodes out of them. Do you have time to think? Of course not. If you don't hurl that spear instantly, you're about to become lunch. Now you might say, but that was ages ago. We've built a civilization. We live in a completely different world. We've changed. The truth is, our biological evolution is lagging far behind our cultural progress. We've ended up in this almost comical situation. We live in a high-tech world, yet inside we are still running on primal code. Look for quick, simple solutions. Avoid unnecessary effort. Stick close to the group and trust our own, especially the ones who speak with confidence. These instincts once kept us alive, but today they give the advantage not to the people with deeper understanding, but to those who can fire off and answer faster and in simpler terms, making the complex sound easy even if it's wrong. And that's why the ones who speak first and loudest so often pull all the attention their way. Smart people hesitate. They ask questions. They look for nuance. They're driven by curiosity, by how they were raised, by the people around them, by personal experience, by inner motivation. For them, the value of understanding and finding the truth is greater than the need for comfort or speed. But the foolish, they follow a simple script. In this situation, you do this. And they act instantly. From the outside, that look like strength, like leadership. On the other hand, some people have figured out how to turn stupidity into a gold mine. Today, it's making entrepreneurs and corporations obscene amounts of money. How did that happen, you might ask? Once again, it comes down to biology. Most of us crave quick emotional rewards. That's just human nature. Processing complex information takes real effort, and it doesn't give us that instant hit of pleasure. So we've buried under sources of immediate gratification. Social media, short video, flashy headlines, books, movies, news, even education are more and more tailored to simplified formats. Just look at the New York Times bestseller list and try not to cry. The Hemingways and Fitzgeralds are long gone. Now it's packed with painfully shallow young adult fantasy, cookie-cutter crime thrillers, and romance novels. And they're selling by the millions all over the world, raking in staggering profits. The most striking part is none of this is forced on us. People choose it willingly. They just prefer what's easier, what stirs up basic emotions. And that creates a loop we can't seem to break. We get used to finding satisfaction quickly, with no effort. We feel that little hit of pleasure, and the brain goes, yes, more of that. And over time, we start to dull. Think about it. You've been in this situation. You know for a fact the person you're talking to is wrong. You bring facts, logic, examples, and they just smile and repeat themselves. And then you feel it. You're tired. That creeping sense of futility. You start wondering if your doubts are actually a weakness. Maybe you really do need to simplify to sound convincing. That's the moment of an inner crisis, when you feel like throwing in the towel. Meanwhile, stupidity spreads and thrives. Simple, emotional ideas travel faster, gather more and more supporters. And that's how they seep into everything, even politics. People who think this way become more visible, more influential, and start deciding what counts as normal. The world starts bending around them. Education gets watered down, culture turns into pure entertainment, and complex topics get chopped into short, shallow sound bites. Smart, thoughtful people often find themselves on the sidelines, not because they have nothing to say, but because their way of thinking and speaking just doesn't fit the rules of mass attention. And as long as attention is the main currency, the ones who can grab it fast and hold it with simple tools will win. But here's the thing. Doubts isn't a sign of stupidity. It's proof you can see depth. Uncertainty is the price you pay for noticing the complexity of the world. Sure, it might slow you down in quick verbal battles, but it also gives you the ability to see what's really going on. Stupidity wins in the moment, but it loses in the long run. That's why the real shift isn't about trying to be the simple and confident in their own game. It's about recognizing that your strength is in taking the harder path and resisting easy answers. The ability to hold a pause when everyone expects an instant reactions. That's not weakness. That's a form of inner freedom. And maybe next time you hear someone say loud and certain, "It's all clear, here's what we do," you stop and ask, is it really that clear? Sometimes that one question is what changes everything. I'm curious, have you ever seen people get swept up by a simple, confident opinion, even when it was wrong? What did you feel in that moment? Share your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.